But our focus this evening now is squarely on our exit poll because it's D-Day for Delhi, a day where the national capital will seal the stamp on its next government. The capital has queued up to cast its vote, and the latest information coming from the Election Commission is that 63% of polling has been done as of 5 p.m. Voting for 70 seats began at 8 a.m. and will continue till 6 in the evening. The top three contenders are BJP, Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress. High voter turnouts, long queues across Delhi. The top three political rivals seen at polling booths exercising their rights. BJP's Chief Ministerial candidate Kiran Bedi calling the day a historic one, appealing to people to vote in large numbers. Aam Aadmi Party Chief Arvind Kejriwal asking people to vote for an honest and corruption-free government. Other political leaders from across parties also coming out to vote, and a large voter turnout, as I said, possibly a record, is going to be achieved in Delhi at the moment. Let me introduce all our panelists who are joining us as we see those pictures with us. My colleague Rahul Kanwal is with us. He's going to, in fact, give us in a moment all those big figures of the Delhi voter turnout, which is significant because it could be a record. Ashok Lahiri will try and help us make sense of the numbers as they come out. Surjit Bhalla is joining us, and as always with his unique take, one of the country's leading economists and political economists who's been tracking elections for years now. Dipankar Gupta, one of the country's most eminent political sociologists, is with us, and someone who's looked at Delhi closely. Manisha Priyam, senior academic and political scientist, who will give us her perspective on Delhi, a state that she's tracked very closely. Manini Chatterjee of the Telegraph also joining us. So we've got lots. And Seshadri Chari will be joining us from Hyderabad to give us his take, wearing his hat both as a BJP leader and analyst, but on this show as an analyst as we look to those numbers. But those numbers, importantly, include turnout. Because Rahul, from what you're suggesting, this could be a record turnout for Delhi. Last time was 65.6. It could well touch 70 as things stand.
Rajdeep, the highest voter turnout in Delhi has been 68.86. This was way back in 1972. The lowest has been 53.42 in 2003. By 5 p.m., we had already crossed 64% according to the Election Commission data, and they're saying that by 5:15 we'd crossed 65. The data for 6 p.m. is not in yet, but we could be on the verge of an all-time record in Delhi politics.
Can you give us a breakup of Lok Sabha constituencies, how the voter turnout, which are the highest, where has the voter turnout been highest of the 7 Lok Sabha constituencies in Delhi this time?
Okay, let's take it one by one. In East Delhi, there's been 64.78. In New Delhi, it's the least at 59.92. In North Delhi, it's 64.56. Remember, these are figures till 5 p.m. In Northeast Delhi, it's 66.37. In Northwest Delhi, it's 62.1. In South Delhi, it's 61.7. In Southwest Delhi, it's 63.66. And remember, it's in Selampur that the voting turnout has crossed a whopping 82%. And that essentially shows that it's in the areas that are not so well off that the urge to vote has been highest. In constituencies like New Delhi, which are the most well off, the voting turnout has been the least, followed by South Delhi, which again is relatively better off than some of the other.
Okay, I voted. I hope everyone on this table has voted. Rahul, you voted? Ashok? You're a Haryanvi. You live in Gurgaon. Surjit, you've gone and voted. Okay, Surjit and I are in the same constituency voting Greater Kailash. Dipankar voted?
Yes.
Manisha voted? Not bad, 100% voter. We can even bring the Haryanvi in and call it a 100% voter turnout. So here we've got 100%, but those are important figures. And let's get this clear. Is voter turnout significant? Surjit, in your experience, do you believe that, as Rahul is pointing out, poorer areas voting in larger numbers, not surprising, happens often in polls, but does that mean advantage Aam Aadmi Party, or is that, as I've been saying earlier, too simplistic a reading?
Well, look, in the Lok Sabha elections, a high voter turnout before the event, as we had discussed on the shows, would mean that it would help BJP. It basically helps the anti-incumbent. Now, in this election, there is no incumbent, but the incumbent is the BJP because of the Lok Sabha. So therefore, I would say a higher turnout, as the turnout goes higher and higher, the BJP is likely to get more and more worried.
Okay, just let's dip into those shots of Nupur Sharma. This is the BJP candidate who's contesting against Arvind Kejriwal. Now she's protesting. With due regards to Nupur Sharma, usually we find that if you're losing an election, that's when you make these kind of complaints, claiming that you've been beaten up and other things. And Nupur Sharma, with due regards, has often been accused by her critics of a large amount of dramatic content in her politics. We'll have to see what happens in the New Delhi constituency where she's taking on Arvind Kejriwal. But the turnout point, Anybody else with a differing view on turnout? Ashok, your general experience of turnout, does it help? Is Aam Aadmi Party, important point, being seen as the challenger in this election? Does a high voter turnout mean the challenger has a better chance?
No, I still believe that what is going to happen is that there will be some distinction in the voting pattern according to income class and the perception of the voters, whether they're the middle class or not. Mind you, there is no official statistics available, but I saw something by CSDS where one expert is saying about a third consider themselves to be poor, about a fifth consider themselves to be rich, and the rest are middle class. And if the BJP, I don't know whether it has or not, has struck a sympathetic chord with the middle class and the upper classes, and the voter turnout turns out to be higher in that category as well, then I'm not that sure.
So it depends on where the higher voter turnout. It's the category that matters. Manini, your first impressions of voter turnout?
No, I would have thought that it would benefit AAP, but the only rider is that the BJP seems to be quite happy with the high voter turnout, and they are claiming. My colleagues who are covering the BJP, they've been saying that they feel that there was a lot of apathy and kind of resentment among the BJP worker till about a week ago because of Kiran Bedi's nomination and for n number of reasons. But they have managed to enthuse their own cadre, and in turn that cadre has gone out to sort of consolidate and bring out their vote.
So
the BJP is also hopeful.
So the BJP is also hopeful that a high voter turnout. So both sides, in a sense, seem to be happy with the voter turnout. Yes.
I just want to say another thing, that it's very important to look at where the turnout is coming. If you look at, I was looking at the constituencies, Kirari. So BJP won with a margin of 35% in 2013. Whereas if you look at Vikaspuri, the margin that they lost by was 0.23%. So whether Vikaspuri will go with Aam Aadmi Party or BJP depends on whether BJP, and I don't know what Mr. Amit Shah is doing, because he does it like a army general. If he's mobilizing people and making sure that you get the people to vote for BJP in Vikaspuri, you may find an upset there. Whereas it doesn't really matter in Kirari where the BJP gets more voters.
So we look at those constituencies more closely, because there are about 14 constituencies where the margin was less than 1,500 last time. So those are the kind of constituencies which could well decide this election. There are some constituencies that the BJP hasn't lost even at the worst time when Sheila Dikshit was the chief minister on 3 consecutive terms. But there are these marginal constituencies that could well decide the fate of Delhi, and it could go down to the wire in that sense. I just want to go to our reporters who've been standing by for some time. Maha Siddiqui is at the Election Commission office. Ashar Khan has taken on the unfortunate role of perhaps of being at the Congress office because the battle at the moment doesn't seem to involve the Congress. But Maha, first to the Election Commission. There have been complaints of bogus voting, complaints of voter intimidation, complaints of liquor being sold. Is the Election Commission of Nupur Sharma claiming that her supporters were manhandled? Is the Election Commission taking any of this seriously?
Yes, absolutely, Rajdeep. In fact, at around 2 o'clock, we spoke with the Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Chandra Bhushan Kumar, and he said in the case of Nupur Sharma's sister being manhandled, the allegations will be looked into. He said if there is any footage, even if it's provided by a media house, they will look into it. But he said there is a procedure. They have to ascertain whether that incident really took place and whether the Aam Aadmi Party, as is being alleged by Nupur Sharma, was involved. And only after that action will be taken. As far as liquor seizure is concerned, he claimed that 1,60,000 bottles of alcohol were seized. He also reminded the voters that taking a bribe is also a crime. Hence, if any of the voters took cash and liquor, they would be just as responsible for taking bribe as the person or the party that is handing it over to them. He said that their men are on the field and that they are taking care till counting day to ensure that nobody is lured by alcohol or cash. Let me quickly point out, here's a graph, Rajdeep, that shows that New Delhi and Central Delhi are the culprits, if I can put it that way, of pulling the voter percentage down, because the rest of the districts in Delhi seem to have voted pretty well this time around because of perhaps the good weather here in Delhi. The CEO telling us that they are expecting the voter percentage to be at par with what it was in 2013 and Lok Sabha 2014.
Okay, interesting facts that you're giving us. Ashar, quick look at that, because one key element, we are at the Congress headquarters, is the mood in the Congress. Because a completely demolished Congress is perhaps to the advantage of the Aam Aadmi Party. If the Congress holds at least 18% of the vote, then the BJP's chances are seen to improve. This is purely in terms of arithmetic. Your sense on the mood in the Congress, have they given up? Some are saying the Congress may not even win more than 2 or 3 seats. Is that the sense that they are getting there?
Well, yes, that is what we've been given to understand. Deep down, the Congress also knows that this is not their game. But as far as the Congress is concerned, well, I'm standing at the Congress headquarters. Well, the best part of being in the Congress headquarters or covering the Congress when it's an election day in Delhi is that you get to meet all the 3 Gandhis. That is the Congress President, the Congress Vice President and Priyanka Gandhi. Though the Congress President and the Congress Vice President did not speak much, but Priyanka Gandhi did speak and said that, these are difficult times, but she's sure that the Congress party will come out of these difficult times, and also went ahead and said that in fact it's time that AAP will also learn something from the Congress party. So clearly that is the axis which one gets on the election days. But as far as the generic mood is concerned within the Congress party, they all know that this is not their game. They're just in it to ensure that the organization strength remains, the cadre remains, and they're also seen as somebody who trying to do something rather than sitting at their homes.
Okay, we're going to wait to see how badly or how well the Congress is doing in this election. The big exit poll figures are coming, but Rahul Kejriwal has reacted, is it?
With polling officially getting over, what the EC said is anybody who crossed in before 6 will be allowed to vote, but officially now no one else can come in. So Arvind Kejriwal 2 minutes before now has said, हमने अपना काम ईमानदारी और निस्वार्थ भाव से किया, अब फल भगवान के हाथ में. We worked with honesty, without any selfish motive, and now he says we're leaving it to God. Rajdeep, he has fought a terrific campaign. He's really set the agenda for this election. At every corner, the BJP has been trying to play catch up. He's, in several senses, turned this election and given the BJP a fright of their lives.
We're going to come back to this. Look at how Arvind Kejriwal has tried to reinvent himself. Whether the BJP could have called an election as early as July and August, in a sense, stumped Arvind Kejriwal. Did they give Kejriwal too much of time to regroup? Has the BJP got its act together in the last 1 week? Once they saw that the poll figures were going against them, has Amit Shah now worked some kind of a jadoo against the jhadu? That's the big question. Amit Shah's jadoo, Arvind Kejriwal's jhadu. That's what we're going to find out in a moment from now. Who has the edge in the exit poll figures? India Today's Cicero figures are coming up in a moment from now. Who has the edge in the battle for Delhi? We'll be bringing you the big numbers in a moment from now. Hold on for that.